Everyone, I'm Halley and I'm the founder of Halley Claire Coaching. I work with a lot of solo entrepreneurs, helping them to build their personal brands and to just gain more confidence, getting more visible online, and working on money mindset, really everything that it takes to become a confident entrepreneur. So today I am speaking with Dr. Elsa van der Berg, and I'm really excited to be here today. She has an amazing organization, Sonderhouse, and I'm just going to ask her a series of questions and really get to know more about her business, have her unpack more about what she does, her mission, and why she's so passionate about what she's doing in the world. So welcome.
Thank you.
So I would love to know exactly, why did you start Sonderhouse?
So a little bit about my story.
Yes.
I have been working in mostly tech, software, startups and scale-ups in Berlin for the past 10 plus years already, in a variety of different industries. So that was B2B, B2C, a lot of marketplaces, fast-moving consumer goods, fintech, all kinds of different stuff. But in all of these different industries, I kept seeing pretty much the same issues popping up over and over, which were often about customer acquisition costs being too high, customer recurrence being too low, lifetime values being too low, revenues maybe having been nice in the beginning but then plateauing sort of, sales cycles being very long, conversion rates too low, and in the worst case kind of throwing with discounts to try to get customers on board. And I spent a lot of time looking at all of these problems, trying to solve them. And I was trying to kind of trace them back to the root cause. And after thinking about this for a long time, I came to the conclusion that it comes back to product market fit. And in the end, the very kind of painful question that founders have to ask themselves is, did we really build something that people love and that they want to tell others about? And these are very uncomfortable questions, especially if you are a slightly more mature company and you've been around for a longer time. You might have investors breathing down your neck. But these are the key questions that you have to be asking. And I've worked with a lot of different leader types or founder types, and I'm going to just grossly oversimplify here, but bear with me. I've seen a lot of founders who care a lot about just maximizing value, getting to a big exit, being the big winner. But then I've also seen very different leaders who care really only about creating value for their customers and who just want to do work that they are proud of and who want to empower their team to be able to do that. So then after all of these years, I was thinking to myself, what do I want to do? And I thought, firstly, I want to surround myself with a second type of leader. These people who basically never rest and constantly ask themselves, did we really get the target audience right? Are we really doing something that adds value? Are we really making a positive change? And secondly, I want to focus on these problems. So I want to help people identify the right target audience, understand what these people really want, and connect with them in the right way. So that's why I founded Sonderhouse, but I very quickly realized that I cannot really do it by myself. I am a strategic consultant, so I help with these first parts, but then I also work with a branding and storytelling expert who helps us get the message across in the right way. And I work with a behavioral scientist because I am a firm believer in looking how people behave in the real world to understand what they want, rather than the more old-fashioned market research where you ask them. So that's this behavioral science aspect. And I also work with a product and growth expert.
Wow. Okay. It sounds so amazing. It just sounds like so many organizations could use exactly what you're offering. And if you could, pin it down to a few phrases, what exactly is it that you do? What is the magic that you offer?
I think it depends a little bit at which maturity stage companies are at. So I work with startups and also scale-ups. Scale-ups are a bit more mature, where they often maybe think, we don't need product market fit anymore. But actually the question whether you're doing something that customers really want is something that should stay with you throughout your whole company life cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think one key thing that we do is to start by making assumptions explicit. So whether you're a founder by yourself or you have a big leadership team or a big company of maybe a couple hundred employees, It's about firstly making things explicit, because often a lot of people have things in their minds and different people within the team have different thoughts about who the target audience should be. For instance, with mature companies, we start with a product market fit audit, and we start also with interviews with each individual stakeholder, so one-on-one interviews to kind of understand where we stand and make these feelings or thoughts or gut feelings explicit. And what we usually find is that people have very different ideas of what the company is today and what it should be doing and who it should be serving. There's often a lack of internal alignment. And then when you interview the customer base, which is a very interesting thing to do when you have a more mature company, you find also that there are very different answers, and potentially the customers see your value in something very different than what you thought yourself. So the first thing that we do is make things explicit and get clarity on where we are today. And then the second step is that we help you outline the right strategy. So we help you figure out what you should be testing, which assumptions are the most risky, which assumptions are already quite certain, and we help you find the minimum viable approach to do that test. For example, you have in mind a couple of target audience segments that could be interesting. We help you make the assumptions about these audiences explicit. We help you identify the right methods to test these assumptions. So which channels do you want to test? Which value propositions? What tone of voice? Which images? We help you also set up the tests and set up, if needed, the tooling to read the results of those tests so you can adjust them. So it's all about making things explicit, setting you up to start testing, and setting you up to start adjusting in the right way.
And I wonder, because it sounds so valuable what you're offering, because you go into the company, you hear from everyone, right? So you're talking with the employees, because you're really rounding up everyone's feelings and opinions, you know. And I think in a lot of these organizations, sometimes it comes down to one guy's opinion on, okay, his gut feeling on who the right target audience is and what they're going to want. And that is like absolutely, like, in marketing 101, that is like the wrong approach, right? You really have to test things. You have to go to the market and you have to do the research and really see. And I think also sometimes people are doing the research in a not so systematized way. It sounds like you really have this process down to a T, so you can help organizations follow your process to come to a group agreement on what is the best strategy to take moving forward.
Absolutely, and I think it's very interesting what you just said, because everybody, when I tell them this story, they say, oh, that's great for marketing. And I've done a lot of different roles, but one role I never did was anything in marketing. It's just because I believe that this idea of finding the right target audience and doing something for them, specifically for them, that means not something that you wanted to do anyhow or something that you've already built and are now trying to sell to people, but really focusing on an audience first, is something that should underpin the whole business.
Absolutely.
So I have done product roles and QA roles and strategic roles and business development roles. And I always went back to this kind of customer-driven approach to things, also setting up sales and marketing, but always starting with the target audience first. But when you Google now target audience analysis, it goes to marketing, as if it's only the job for the marketeer. And I completely think it should be everyone. It should be also what the CEO eats for breakfast every day. And so that's step one. And exactly, the second thing is about involving everybody, involving all of the stakeholders. And also, I think for bigger companies, something else that is very important to us is this teaching component. So number one is the collaboration piece. I've worked with external consultancies myself as a client, so when I was permanently employed. In the end, we got a very nice slide deck at the end with all of the answers and everything that they researched. And we just put it in a folder and didn't really use it. Because every slide you look at, you think, yeah, but what did they do there?
Right.
How did they do it? And you can't really trust the results because they're not your results. So that's one part, is that we work with every person in the leadership team so that we come to these results together. But then another thing, that the other employees are left behind a little bit. I felt this myself when I was more junior. I did a lot of things, but I never had the context. I didn't really know why I was doing them. This is why, to me, the teaching component is so important. So I've been reading a lot of books and coming up with these methodologies that are based on a lot of context. And I want to also give anybody who's interested that context, access to that context, so they can make better decisions and understand why they're doing things.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting what you said is that like, well, this is usually like in the camp of marketing, but in today's user-centric business models, like you can't have these silos of like marketing over here and product team over here and engineers over here. You really have to have this like cohesive brand story, and the more successful companies are going to be the ones that really have everybody on board with understanding your mission, your purpose, and you want also your employees to get on with that purpose, to feel like we're really making a difference. Our product is actually making a difference in the world. And I've talked to a lot of people who have worked in tech companies, and they just feel like they're just doing a job. They don't really feel like they're connected to the mission, and they don't feel like their voice is heard. And so it sounds like also what you offer is an opportunity for, you know, a team of people to really get together and work on a project that they're passionate about, do what they love to do, and also have their voice be heard in the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's also something that I've had a lot of conversation in the past months with people working in tech companies. And it's such a familiar story where I've been in as well. As an employee, when you work for a company where you don't fully believe in it, you think the product is okay, but you also know deep inside that there are competitors who are doing a better job at you and maybe solving the problem in a better way than you are, or you're not entirely sure of the capacity of the product, and you find yourself in client conversations or in pitches where you are uncomfortable and insecure because, well, you're not that certain of the value that you're really offering, which also leads to you maybe offering a discount because you know that your product is not really superior. And actually everybody I've spoken with in the past couple of months has been in this spot. And it's a very uncomfortable spot to be in, because you kind of feel like you are sort of tricking people into believing it.
Right.
Then I've had also other conversations with people who I think are very inspirational, who've done it right. These conversations I've been having on my podcast, Chats with Changemakers, who really did zoom in on a niche audience. So they were brave enough to say, it's not for everybody. I'm going to focus on just this subset of people and just double down on these people and just build something that is amazing for them from end to end. So the entire customer journey from sign up to retention and loyalty is all geared towards this very specific niche. And they see amazing results, firstly, and they are also comfortable asking for premium prices. Because they say,
Absolutely.
We are certain that we are delivering value. If I didn't offer you my service right now, I would be robbing you of an opportunity as a customer. And I think that is the place where you want to get to as a business, right? Where you are standing in a sales conversation and you are certain of the value that you can offer. You are confident, you are proud of the work that you deliver. So that's kind of what is my mission, or what is Sonderhouse's mission, is to get businesses to that point.
Wow, that is so incredible. I feel like a lot of businesses are out there trying to, you know, just market to everybody and, you know, see what happens. And, you know, that saying, like, if you try to be something to everyone, you'll end up being nothing to nobody. And was that proper English? I don't know. But the point is, like, you know, you see these companies that are just, like you said, trying to get you to buy with them, you know, and offering these crazy discounts. And that is just not good marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it comes from a lack of security. And I completely understand it. It comes from not having the foundation right. That's why I'm always saying target audience first, right? Because that is the foundation. If you are really zooming in on the right values, if you understand the psychology of the people you're serving. That's why I always start with this 1,000 true fans exercise that was initially coined by Kevin Kelly, where he goes, if you were to describe 1,000 true fans being people who would buy anything you produce, anything you put out, because they just love you so much, who are they? What are their worldviews? What do they tell themselves? What do they value in this world? So that is not women between 30 and 40 who brush their teeth, or like, right? It's more about what emotional state are they trying to get to? Also, how do they act with status? Do they perceive themselves as having a high status? Are they worried of losing their status? So kind of describing psychology and not demographics. If you do that, you find, if you do it right, you find maybe 2 or 3 values that you can really stick to. So you can say, we are the ones who care the most about giving you peace of mind and simplicity or whatever. You can double down on that. And then based on that, you can find multiple sub-segments where you can make it even smaller. So you can say, oh, we're now looking at women in Berlin between 25 and 35 who care about these things. With those groups, with these age brackets, you can test as much as you want. You can try men, women, children, whatever, but the values you double down on. And if you have those kind of values as your North Star, you can get to a very special place where you are the only clear, obvious answer to a problem and not somebody else.
Wow, I just have chills right now because I feel like so many companies are missing out on this opportunity. And when I think of that from a marketing perspective, because my background is in marketing and communications, and when I think about if you can really get clear on the psychology of your clientele and get that message so clear that if they, see your ad on Instagram, they're like, yes, like right away, and that is one of the biggest problems I feel like in today's hyper, technological world is people are on their phones scrolling on Instagram, and there are so many ads coming at them left and right. But when you see a good quality message, you're like, wow, you're taken aback, and that really resonates for you. And that's what companies need to get to today.
Yes. I think exactly, and it's that thing, this message that is clearly meant for you and not for somebody else. It stands out because it just resonates with you. It's not generic. And I think then the second piece of the puzzle, which is why, like for me, I have a background actually in product. So it's firstly grabbing attention, right? Getting people to want to start talking to you. Maybe not even buy your product, but just to allow you to start a conversation. And then it's about delivering value across the entire sales cycle, the entire funnel. I don't know how long it is, right? Depends on the business model, depends on what you're selling. Most of the people I've been talking to have been selling slightly more complicated products that require trust building or education.
Absolutely.
And in this case, you will have longer funnels. And in every step of the way, you want to deliver some piece of value to your customers so you can deepen the level of permission so that in the end, after you've built and established trust, you can convert them into a sale. But then it's not done. This is why I'm saying it should underpin the entire business. You've now made a promise that has resonated, and now you have to deliver on it. So it's also about product design, service design. And now, if you get it really right, you do it so well that your customer will want to tell others about it. And I think that is the holy grail of everything, is word of mouth. The whole point is to get to a stage where your customers are so excited about what you do that they will become your sales force, right? That your funnel will refill organically because your customers are bringing in new customers. And of course, I practice what I preach. Like all of the exercises that I've designed, I've done them myself as well. And for me, also when I talk to a client, it's not about making a one-off sale at the moment. It's about creating real value for them, right? So I want to make sure that I help them. That's why we start out also by setting goals, for example, so we can see if we achieve those goals. We have something to measure. And it's also why I offer a money-back guarantee. If you're not happy, I don't care about the one sale, because it's not about that one ticket. It's about creating loyalty and maybe evangelism for life, right?
Mm-hmm. And it just sounds like you care so much about the relationships that you're building with your prospective clients. And it sounds like you also want to be working with organizations that care about people first.
Yes.
So speak more about, how does that work in your business? How does that work with the organizations that you want to support?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is another kind of the flip side of the coin. When you say, I'm going to zoom into a target niche, that also means that you turn away people that don't fit the profile.
Yep.
And I've already had a few conversations where I've said, it's not for you necessarily. So I really work with these people who are willing to invest. Because as said, we are not a consultancy where we take the mission, we disappear for 3 months and you get a nice presentation. We need collaboration of stakeholders, right? We want to make sure that our results are your results. So that's step one. Also, we are looking for people who are willing to ask these tough questions. And this is something that I've seen a lot of leaders are up for it, because they know that it's something they struggle with internally. Because it's very hard to do it internally, because you'll be asking your head of product to question their own products, or you'll be asking the CEO to question their own business model. And it's very hard to think critically about something, a course that you've been steering for many years potentially. So that's why I think it always makes sense to have somebody external, but you need to be ready for that. You need to be open to having these conversations and asking these questions. Another thing is, I check, of course, I listen to the story and I see, can we really deliver value here? If I don't see it, if I don't see a clear outline of how I'm going to deliver value, I will be honest about it and I will turn people away. That's very important, because it doesn't make strategic sense for us at Sonderhouse to take on a client where we cannot perform, because instead of having positive word of mouth, we might even garner negative word of mouth and we would destroy our brand essentially. So this is also something I would very much recommend to our clients to do, and we eat our own dog food in that sense.
And how do you know that you're going to get results? I mean, with what you offer, it sounds like it's a process. It's like a journey almost. Where do you know when you've actually gotten results, or how do you measure that?
So it takes time, right? This is also, we have different pricing models in a sense. For people with a lower budget, we can do a rev share model, where we have to look further into the future in a sense on how we're going to do this. So it's very much designed on a case-to-case basis, because there just is no one size fits all. But I try to be very results driven, results oriented. So I try, or I make sure that in the beginning we outline the expectations from both sides and we try to work towards those. I've seen a lot of experimentation, a lot of people randomly trying new things, and if you don't outline exactly what you're testing, what parameters you're checking, and also what you're trying to achieve, be it KPIs or OKRs or some other form of goals, it's going to be very hard to do this in a structured way. So I'm a big fan of that. Of course, there's room for adjustment, right? We're constantly collaborating. It's a collaborative process from beginning to end. I also do these regular short retrospectives where we talk about the process, right? How is the collaboration part going? So in that way, we can adjust as time goes on, but we always have goals to set out to start with.
That's amazing, yeah, because it's like, I feel like your clients are going to want to know, okay, well, where does this end? Is this, do you just come in and are you part of our team? What does it actually look like? Because like you said, a lot of consultancies, they come in, they offer a document, and then they're out. And it sounds like you are really part of the process from, okay, here we are now today to, let's say, I don't know, you want to get that perfect product market fit. So then what happens when you get the perfect product market fit?
So usually, like with most client relations, I've kind of kept them for a very long time, right? Like, because it's a continuous process. This is also, I like this outline of the phases that people say, oh, we'll have an MVP phase, and then we will demonstrate product market fit, and then we will move into the scaling phase and everything will be great. And in reality, you have to do this product market fit exercise continuously, right? So you do it once on a small scale, perhaps via market research, and then some real world tests. You might have some pilot projects where you have an initial idea. In B2B, you have this thing called the technology adoption lifecycle, where you first tackle the early markets, where you once have to do this exercise of product market fit, which is innovators and early adopters. But then at some point, when you're mature enough, you need to cross into the mass markets. And the mass market buyers are very different from the early market buyers. They have completely different psychological profiles. So you have to do this exercise again, right? You have to again find product market fit. So I think what we do in the beginning of a project, we outline goals. I always come up with a proposal where we outline the steps that I propose we should take, after which a client can say, I think we should do it differently, right? It's already a collaborative process from the get-go. So we decide an outline, we decide on goals, we decide on a method to work together, where, as you said, I'm often on site. I really like to immerse myself in the organization. So that means a lot of workshops, a lot of breakout sessions, a lot of one-on-ones. I very much value one-on-ones. And I can also come to educate the rest of the staff or train them. And then as this package is finalized, often we can continue with other steps, right? So as the business grows and things progress.
Amazing. So I know you mentioned this at the beginning, but now I want to come back to it again, because now you've explained your process and your passion and how you work with people. Who is the perfect audience for what you're offering? If someone's seeing this right now and they're like, it sounds like she's a great consultant, who are they? Who would you be a perfect fit for?
Yeah, so it's mainly about, if I think about the values that I care about the most, so it's really about people like leaders, founders who are already there in their thought process, that they are thinking about product market fit, or that they realize they see all of these issues, they have these symptoms, right, that I mentioned in the beginning, like the high customer acquisition costs or the long sales cycles or the revenues that are plateauing. And they recognize that these are symptoms of a deeper problem, and they are not wanting to put a band-aid on top of it, throw more money into ad campaigns or do more cold calling, but they realize the problem is deeper. They realize the problem is about what does the customer want. And so ideally they're already there, right? Mm-hmm. And the second thing is they need to value this idea of bringing the whole leadership team on board. Because I have no interest, as said, to work offsite and deliver PowerPoint slides where I know it will have no impact. So that's about their values. Then when it comes about company size, I work ideally in retainer packages where I am there at least a minimum amount of hours, which means ideally some funding or revenue there. Mm-hmm. This is because if I can only be there 1 hour per week, it's not possible for me to deliver the value that I promise in the outset. So ideally companies who have at least seed funding or are already having some revenues.
Okay, that makes sense. And, just to wrap all this up, because I feel like you've shared, your values, who you want to work with, how you work with people. What is your mission for the world? How do you want this business that you're offering to impact the world?
Yeah, so we want to help businesses create something that is drastically better for their customers. Through empathy, through understanding, through connection, and stuff like that.
Amazing, because it's like you solve this very specific problem, and businesses, when you can help a business do something better and solve a problem in the world, you're really helping so many more people as well. So I love that you're super focused, you're super passionate about the problem that you're solving, and you have your process all outlined. So really, I hope this video has helped people see, how much value you can offer, and that you really know what you're talking about because of your experience. And what I love about you is that you offer such strong strategic approach. You're very much like a logic left brain person. Like myself, I'm a branding person, I'm a creative person, I'm a communications person. I love getting into the process of, how do you say the right words to persuade someone of something? But you are so much about the process, the logic. Okay, how can we create a system out of this to make sure that, and look at the results and see what's working and what's not. And that is so important in a business, to have both. You want to have the right creative and the right messaging and the right branding, but you also want to have systems in place that support your organization to get on board and keep testing and make sure that it's getting better and better. So I love it. It's so great.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that.
So how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you?
So they can find me at else@sonderhouse.io. So that's ELSE at sonderhouse.io. The website went live recently, so you can check that out as well. And I'm also doing a podcast where I speak with leaders who are basically the type that I just described. So leaders of companies that are already running successfully, who really care about making a positive change in the world. It's called Chats with Changemakers. It's on Spotify and on Apple, and it's also linked on my website.
Great. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.